I don't want to let you down, but there is no way that I'll be as inspiring as Your Honor. No way possible. Let's see. I grew up in the South Bronx, right? I was a black Cosby kid. I had both my parents in the household. They gave me everything I wanted because they didn't want me to go out and be one of those kids outside who would hustle, who would do anything and everything for money. And sometimes the household suffered because they felt the need to do for me, right? And eventually, I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be a part of the foolishness. So I dropped out of school and got involved in all kinds of stuff. And now I stand here before you as a law school graduate. So I commend you, sis, because I went from GED to JD. And it wasn't early, it wasn't easy, but it's just something that I'm proud of. Sorry, I'm just not really formal. Black Lives Matter, and how I use my law degree in this movement, it shouldn't be a mystery to folks, because the battle that we are fighting can only be won in the courts. Slavery ended, legislation. Women's rights, legislation. Civil rights, legislation. Voter rights, legislation. So, me being the president of Black Lives Matter New York kind of goes hand in hand. Now, I'll tell you, we are a bit more radical than some of the older organizations. We're a bit more in your face and less PC, but that's just how we move. Like, we're angry. We live in an in-your-face time. Everything is in your face. You have your cell phones. You have information at your ready. Everything is kind of like right there. Court, you, lawyers, this movement, Delron Smalls. July 4th, 2016, at a little after midnight, Delron Smalls was driving home, and an off-duty cop cut him off. Delron stopped and eventually pulled up next to the cop, and the cop shot him a dirty look. They stop at a red light. Delron gets out of his car, walks over to the cop's car and says, "What the F is wrong with you?" while clapping his hands. The officer rolls down his window and shoots Delron Smalls 3 times. Bow, bow, bow. Delron died. He hit an artery. Delron died within seconds. This trial ended last week. I listened to the 911 call 3 times, right? They played it in court. And this officer said there was an incident, officer needs assistance, I'm hurt, I'm at Atlantic, I'm here, yada, yada, yada. He didn't mention the brother that had 3 holes in his body laying on the floor 10 feet from him. Not one time in a 3-minute 911 call. Now listen to this. I watched as the CSU crime scene unit cop who interviewed this cop at the hospital who was claiming that Delron hit him, that's why he shot him. I listened to this cop say, I didn't see any scarring or any bruising on his face. I listened to this cop lie on the stand. And the jury asked for his testimony to be reread, and they asked for the part where he contradicted himself. So I sat in that courtroom, and as he was reading it, the police lawyers are some of the best I've ever seen in my life, right? So if some of you are thinking about being prosecutors, we need you in the worst way because they're ferocious. He was reading the statement, the court reporter was reading the statement, and he said, I object. That's not what we asked for. The court reporter was irate, like, I know I'm reading the right thing. The prosecutor was flipping out, and I just sat back like, wow, he was just breaking the flow. Like, it's just intelligence, and they're so skilled. The people who oppress us come from a long line of oppressors. This country, a young lady said it to me outside, this country, the system isn't broken. It's working exactly how it's supposed to, and that's to oppress us. These folks have laid it down and have perfected it, and the only way that we could turn it around on them and make it work for us is if we use their system. We just have to be better at it than they are. So, Delron Smalls, murder 1, manslaughter 2, first count. Judge, how do you read? How do you find not guilty? My heart drops, right? Manslaughter, how do you find? What's your verdict? Not guilty. Now, everything I told you, not guilty. I couldn't believe it. I was vocal, and I was vocal, and I was just disgusted, right? It's like, how many times? Trayvon Martin family, I worked with them. I shut down the Brooklyn Bridge for them. Eric Garner family, I led marches through New York City for 30 days straight. All of these folks I fought for, and I'm like, how many times? Well, fortunately, I have families that I'm working with now. Now, I'm the primary person running strategy. And on my board, I was on ABC 7, Here and Now. That's the black show in New York, right? It's black news on public television every morning. And she said, well, the world thinks of you all as thugs. How do you handle that? I have a law degree. Someone on my board graduated from Harvard, another one from Dartmouth. We have people with 3 master's degrees. We also have ex-convicts who are making 6 figures legally now. We are diverse, we are professional, we are efficient. We are not thugs, but if that's how they want to write us off, then so be it. We're just going to win and keep doing what we're doing. Right now, the position we're in is kind of awkward, right? Because about a month ago, we went down to Washington, D.C. to protest. And it was a Donald Trump rally, right? Crazy patriot. And they did something that I would have never expected. They invited us on stage, right? I don't know if some of you saw the video, but we got 48 million hits on this video. And when I went up on stage, something hit me. It was God. I'm a man of faith. I know when God puts his hand in my life and changes the situation, it was God. Because I went up on that stage with love, and I said, I have to make them understand me. Flashback weeks before that, I was going hand to hand with Klansmen and neo-Nazis in Charlottesville, Virginia. Daily News, big picture of me bleeding from my eye. And we were fighting. I mean, literally fighting in Charlottesville. People with guns taller than some of the people in this room. But now here we are, some of the same people in the audience, and God told me to make them understand who we were. So what did I do? I used the legal skills that I learned in law school. The power of persuasion. I took their standards, their foundation that they hold true to them, and I turned it against them. I started off the conversation, I am an American. You have to understand that some of these white supremacists don't believe that we love America. Like, our people ain't built this country for free. You know what I mean? Like, this is not ours. Like, I'm gonna go somewhere and leave what I built. You must be crazy. But first, I am an American, and I'm a patriot in a true sense because I fight to make this country right. I fight to make this country work for us. And I kept going, and I said, being an American, when you have a problem, you can fix it, right? That's what we do. We fix problems. That's what we do as Americans. So when you see a man being choked to death on television and nothing happens, this has to bother you as an American. A black American, a white American, I don't care who you are. If you believe in this country and what it stands for, that has to bother you. For some reason, it's not bothering you, and we have to understand why, right? The Constitution protects us, the 8th Amendment, against cruel and unusual punishment. How is it that a man resists arrest and gets put to death? Right? Like, these are things that you'll know as lawyers, and you'll just see these hypocrisies in the courts, and hopefully it'll inspire you to change them. So the second thing that I turned against them was the Bible, right? There's nothing that these folks love more than the Bible, and they are consistently acting in opposition to that good book, because it says love your neighbor, right? It says give your neighbor a cup of water, but they want to take away health care. They want to send people back to wherever their parents came from, the place that they've never set foot on prior, in their lives. That's where American Christians want to send people back. So what I said was, I don't know if your Bible reads differently from mine, but my Bible says love thy neighbor. And it doesn't say that neighbor has to be from the constitutional United States of America. I'm sorry, from the geographical United States of America. And that kind of flipped them, right? So now here you are, you're going to get your Bible, you're going to get your Constitution. You are hypocrites. And if you're real with yourself, then you'll change the way you act. Two things happen. I got a lot of white Republican followers, which is crazy to me, because I'm like very much Malcolm and not Martin, and now they're looking at me as this peaceful, this loving, this unified type guy. And some of them were like, look at him in Charlottesville throwing rocks. This is him, and they will put that in my timeline just to show them who I really am. I don't care. I mean, I'll word it out. And I'll fight it out. You can have it your way, America. And I'm not promoting violence of any course, but like, it's just what it is. So now, what do we do with this momentum? On December 2nd, we're having our second annual Children's March. It's a day of remembrance for all the folks who died as victims of police brutality. And we came up with 6 pieces of policy, pieces of legislation that we hope folks can get behind. Because what do we do with Black Lives Matter? We march, we're angry, we're cursing, we're yelling, and then what happens? We chill out till we get angry again. I said last night, I ain't marching no else without a purpose. I'm not marching no more unless it's to promote something. Like, I am good at media attention, right? I could drum up some media attention so I could shine a light on injustice. So the next time we march, it will be to promote this policy that I hope each one of y'all can get behind, right? Because we're talking about is things like Andrew's Law. I work with the family, the Kearse family. Andrew was chased by police in Schenectady, New York. I believe it was Obama's administration released a report, the DOJ, and there was like this pattern and practice of racism. And so they have a historical, they have a history of racism. And they chased Andrew down, and when they caught him, he said, you're hurting me, you're breaking my leg. 2 minutes later, he said, you broke my leg. Andrew Kearse. And they carried him to the car. In the car, you can hear on the officer's body cam, him saying, I can't breathe, I'm dizzy. You heard jokes saying, you could breathe when you were running from us, but you can't breathe now, right? So they thought it was funny. 3.3 miles later, 15 minutes later, they arrive at the precinct. Andrew is dead. Lay his body out on the ground like an animal. And then they wait 5-10 minutes to get the defibrillator. And they walk to get it. Just imagine one of us is laying here dead, and we're walking, whistling. I got to get this machine needed to save his life. This is how they treat us, right? So Andrew's Law is when a person claims injury, whether the cop believes him or not, he has to get that person assistance right then and right there. I don't know if it's on the books right now. We have law students from Toro Law. Shout out to Toro Law. They let me in when nobody wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you gotta get in where you fit in and accept that that's where God wants you to be. I did a visiting student year at Howard. I loved it. It was amazing. But I give all thanks to Toro for letting me in school with a GED and a 2.6 average out of college. It was a blessing. So Andrew's Law, boom. That's one thing we're working on. The second is, we have Andrew's Law. The second piece that we're working on, and I say these like 15 times a day, you think they roll off. Unfortunately, they are not. We have Andrew's Law. Secondly, we have, we want to break down the blue wall of silence. You guys familiar with that term? The blue wall of silence. Cops come in our neighborhoods and encourage us to tell on everyone, right? Tell on your friends, tell on your dad, tell on your mother, tell on your brother. However, cops don't tell on each other, okay? And any of us falsify documents, where do we go? Jail, okay? Cops falsify documents. They don't even get a slap on the wrist. There's a case named Jamal Lightfoot. Corrections officers on Rikers Island were convicted of a gang assault. They broke every bone in his face. This happened. Law enforcement officers were convicted of a gang assault. The officers who covered this up, I watched the judge as he convicted everybody, 5 years here, 7 years there. He said, you have been through enough, and didn't give them any jail time. Bullshit. They need to go to jail like anybody else, okay? Put their liberty at risk. Send them to jail, put their pensions on the line, and I guarantee you, when you have an Eric Garner, he'd be like, oh no, he choked him to death. You gonna send me to jail? Nah, you going down, you shouldn't have choked him. You understand? So this is another thing that we're pushing for. Just understand that like the sister told you with the dope hair products, you don't have to practice law to put those skills that you acquire to work, okay? We started what's called the Black Lives Caucus, and that's the political arm. And we endorsed 6 candidates for city council and 1 candidate for district attorney. Just let me tell you a little bit about Black Power, and I'm done. Most of our folks came in second, which was cool because this was the first time we tried anything like that. We say, forget these politicians, we're gonna run our own and get them elected. That's what we'll use this power for from the movement, strategic activism. So our 1 candidate in Brooklyn, her name was Ann Swern, Jewish woman, and she really doesn't get the minority plight. But she understood how the law works, and she created programs in courts that would have a positive impact on our people. So we endorsed her, even though there were 2 sisters in a race. So I'm not knocking these sisters, I'm talking about something else, but like all skin folk ain't kin folk. Just because they black, that don't mean that they're gonna get elected right by us. You got all these black folks who was elected this week, and I'm not celebrating until I see what they're actually going to do for us. So with this woman, right, who we ran, we stepped in a month and a half before the election. She was in last place in a pool of 6. By the time we were finished putting 60 people in the street every day, right, walking around doing what we do, promoting her, she finished second. Let me tell you about the heat. One of the candidates, okay, who had some ties, I can't say who had some ties, sent a government agent to one of my closest friends' house in Harlem at 11:30 at night and said, who is Hawk? Hawk, Hawk is Hawk, he does this and that. Where does he get his money from? Nick Cannon, a couple of other celebrities, they rock with him. How is he doing this? Like, he loves the people. Is he, does he play ball? No. F you. I'm not selling out my people so that I can get perks. okay? So that I can have a nice car, a nice apartment. I'm not selling y'all out. I'm not selling out our communities. So I won't compromise. If people want to work with me, they'll have to do something for the community. Long story short, I get a lot of heat. I get a lot of negativity. I'm investigated. There have been times where police have cut off both of my phones the night before marches. And I asked them the next day, what did y'all do? And they tell me that's above my pay grade. So God only knows which alphabet boy or girl, which agency is toying with my phones, who's watching us. But when you're a disruptor and you cause problems with the status quo, they'll come after you, but I don't care. I put my life on the line for y'all, okay? For y'all. And if you can't get out there with me, then figure out a way to help me, to help this movement. If it's research, if it's whatever you can do for this movement, figure it out. Because if it wasn't for our forefathers and you know, folks who came before us and trailblazers like the judge, where would we be, right? So now you have a responsibility. You in here on a Friday night, you could be getting ready to turn up, you could be having fun, you could be doing a lot of things, but you care. You care about yourself, you care about your career. Show up and show that you care about your people.
To like help. So for research wise, like where would we go to find like information of what you guys are actually seeking like at the moment?
Facebook, we are Black Lives Matter of Greater New York. On Instagram, it's BLM Greater NY. My Facebook is Hawk Newsome. My Instagram is Hawk HAWK Newsome NEWSOM like man, E. And my email is AM Hawk HAWK Newsome NEWSOME @gmail.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions, but I'm just gonna ask two.
Cool.
You mentioned that someone said to you, the world thinks of you as thugs. Okay, so the United States government disbanded the Black Panthers, and the KKK is still allowed to exist and have rallies. And I feel like right now, I guess this is a question for you. What do you think is your biggest opposition? Would you say is the government or the people who are branding the Black Lives Matter movement as thugs?
It's black people. Biggest opposition. Black people. It's the black people that sit at home and do nothing. It's the black people that sit and watch and get angry at the television, but don't do anything to change the situations. You look at other communities, the Jews. I have nothing against the Jews, but look at how. So, see, you in NYU, you say something about Jewish folks, you'll start messing up. It's all positive. It's all positive. I got love for them. But yeah, like look how self-reliant, how insulated their communities are. The average dollar is circulated 40 times within the Jewish community, right? They have their own schools, they have their own police, like they have their own businesses. I dare you to try and set up a business in those communities. But I don't know about where you're from. Everybody owns everything in black communities in New York except black people. Like, this is what we have to change. This is what we have to change. So, once you say that, I know it's not the popular, but I see Democrat in the White House, I see Republican in the White House, I see Republican in the White House, I see the same racist America. Let's not deceive ourselves. The Black Lives Matter movement started under Barack Hussein Obama, and we didn't get justice after him. And then they threw Hillary after us, threw Hillary at us, and she didn't make any sense substantial promises to our community. Like, what we have to do is hold people accountable, like every other ethnicity that plays for power does. Like, we have to hold people accountable. And that's just what it is.
Okay, my second question is, like you said about the policies that you're coming up with, so this, can you hear me with this?
You start talking that shit.
So you mentioned the policies that you're coming up with, such as
The batteries are going.
There's
Yeah, the batteries are going.
police officers killing people for no reason, yet they do it anyway. And I don't mean this to sound pessimistic, but what more, like, than the policies? Because the policies are already there, but they're not working. These people are not listening to the policies. They don't care about the policies.
They don't care because they don't have to. Because you can sell out the black community and black people will still go and show up and vote for you, right? So it's ways and awareness and putting people in power who will stay true to us. Perfect example of what you're saying. Deborah Dana, 66-year-old schizophrenic woman in the Bronx. She had a stick in his hand or a bat. A bat in the hand of a 70-year-old schizophrenic woman is not a dangerous weapon. It's a little old lady with a stick, right? So she was sitting halfway off of her bed, and she lifted the bat up, and the cop shot her twice. And he was a good distance away from her. First, the patrolman's guidebook says that he was supposed to leave her in a secluded area, which she was in, her house, and wait for emergency services. They were 5 minutes away. Second, he was supposed to use the taser that was inches away from his firearm and shoot this woman with the taser. This cop broke 2 rules in his guidebook, and he still has a job. Strategic activism, we have a wonderful sister who's a district attorney in the Bronx. Her name is Darcel Clark, but that don't mean she gets a pass. When this happened, we protested in front of that office every single day for 2 months until they took the case. What wasn't mentioned was right out of college, I was a paralegal for the first black district attorney in New York City, which was Robert Johnson in the Bronx. I helped prosecute these cases. I know both sides of the law. Eventually, she indicted this cop, right? But I don't think it was because of the law. I think it was because we stood out there and talked to thousands of her voters and said she is our only hope for justice, with signs, 3-foot signs that said, if you sell us out, we vote you out. I don't believe in the good nature of politicians. I believe that politicians take care of themselves and their jobs. So I'm coming for your job if you let anything happen to our people. I'm sorry, I just don't care. You know, I have a wife, I have a 6-month-old baby, I have a 14-year-old son who suffers with autism, but I put my life on the line, and I just don't care who it is. If you violate my people, if you oppress black, brown people, poor white people, gay people, if you oppress people, Muslims, I'm coming for you. And that's just the way we work at Black Lives Matter in New York. That's where it has to be. H-Town?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm currently in Staten Island for St. John. I was wondering, like, how do I become a part of the Black Lives Matter? Even though I was in the Houston Black Lives Matter, but how do I be a part of the New York Black Lives Matter from Staten Island, since it has like the oldest black community, but I don't see any type of like camaraderie around it.
Where? In Staten Island? Oh, I don't want to go to Staten Island. There's a bunch of cops, firemen, and racists out there. No, I'm just kidding. I love Staten Island. I don't. But there's good folks out in Staten Island. I'm just playing. And some of them we actually work with. But next, if you're in New York City, next Wednesday at 8:30, we're meeting near Wall Street. 75 Maiden Lane on the 11th. 11th floor. It's called Literacy Partners. We're having an organizers meeting for the March, and a lot of great folks are coming out who are helping to organize. And you can also go to our website, Black Lives Matter Greater NY, or any of the social media, and just say, hey, I want to get involved, and we'll send you information and give you opportunities. And now is a great time, because like I told you, right, it's weird. A lot of Obama people voted for Trump because they were mad at the country. These people are coming back to the side, the right side, right? And then we got our people, like, this legislation will change history. So with 2018 coming up, what we're saying is, if you don't support this, you don't support black people. And that's every election, right? We're trying to put this in front of everybody. This is your opportunity to join us in making history. And I'm not overselling it, I'm just keeping it extremely real with y'all. We are going at them with something serious, and you can be a part of that. That's it? We good? Black Power. Oh, Evangeline, thank you for having me here. I remember being here years ago and smiling and trying to impress everyone and just being nervous, and y'all had fun doing that at the mall. I got past it. I got through it.
Wait, one last question. Sorry. Oh, God. Tell a joke or something.
Donald Trump cares about black people.
Wow, I'm winded. Sorry, that was a lot. So the reason it took me 20 minutes to get up here is because I didn't really have my question formulated. But I kind of disagree with you. In the sense that you were saying that Black Lives Matter, your biggest opposition is black people. But I don't know, I feel like the way in order to affect change and dismantle the system, you can't really be within the system, you have to be in charge of the system. So I feel like an even larger opposition would be white people who are benefiting from the system. And I just I don't know, I just had a really huge problem with the fact that you said that black people who don't agree with you are the problem.
Any of y'all know the Harriet Tubman quote I'm thinking of? Say it.
Oh, I freed 1,000 slaves, but if I knew there were, if I could free 1,000
If they could have knew that they were slaves. With us, it's, we're going to keep fighting against the oppressors, but until we get on the same page, most white people know that white privilege is a real thing that they benefit from, right? And they know how to assert
That's a lie.
I feel like
I honestly, in my opinion, I think they know it. They just won't acknowledge it. They know what it is. Ask them this: would you like to switch places with a black person? And that's when you'll get your answer. You know what I mean? Sis, listen, there are people who are abolitionists, right? And this is a new movement. They want to abolish the cops. They want to abolish politics. They want to do away with the whole system. But right now, we got to wake our folks up. And I believe, what you're saying along the lines of MLK, we got to change the minds of white people. I agree with you. But I think for us, because if we beat police brutality and we fix racism, our hoods still ain't right. Our hoods really aren't right. So for us to really change us, it's going to take all of us to wake up.